Good afternoon, everyone out there. Welcome to another Saturday here with Our World, Our World Power Show. And I'm Lady Pauline and my co host, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, the Honorable Mayor here of Southern Boulevard. Welcome, audience. Hi,
Welcome, welcome.
hi, how are you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you have a good week?
I I did a busy week, but a good week.
All
Yes.
right, so let's get started. We have a lovely young lady on by her name is Latrice Smith. She's an author, and I would like to welcome her to the show. Hi, how are you doing?
Welcome, Latrice.
Hi,
Latrice,
thank
you're doing
you,
good.
thank you. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good,
Yes.
good. We're excited to have you here.
Yeah, I want you to
Thank
talk about all the exciting books that you have written. I have, I've gone over a few of them. And before I start that, I'm going to make a quote that you wrote, and you stated here in one of your books. I believe my purpose in life is to use my life lessons as a tool to help guide other people. And I found that so profound. Could you please tell me what was going through your mind at that time that you wrote that?
Um, I think more so I'm trying to be what I wanted someone to be for me. And what I say by that is that when I was growing up, I experienced a lot of things. I grew up early, which you probably known or read about. I was emancipated at the age of 16. I was a teenage runaway by the age of 13 and a half, going on 14. And I went through so many things that I don't want to see other people younger than me in the new generation go through if they can learn through my story. I could try to prevent that.
Okay.
I know you don't like talking about it, but I wanted just the listeners to know. So you had some violent, traumatic things occur to your mother and to your grandmother. Just tell us just a little bit about that before we continue the story, because that contributed to you being emancipated at 16, and some of the other things that you've gone through.
Yes, and people don't understand that either. That's a very important thing to know your family dynamic because it helps shapes you and it helps you become who you are, whether
Yes.
good or bad.
True.
So my grandmother was murdered when my mom was 3 years old to domestic violence. Her
Wow.
boyfriend stabbed her. So my
Yeah.
mom never even got a chance to even remember her mom growing up. She moved with my aunt, with her uncle, who was married to a woman who had 4 kids. So my mom, it was seven of them. So it was seven of them and four additional kids living in one household.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So it was 11. So my uncle wound up dying to cirrhosis of the liver. I guess it was a struggle raising a big family back then. And then my aunt was left raising seven kids who were not biologically related to her and her
Yes.
4 children. So
Wow.
whatever happened in that household growing up, they never discussed. But it turned out to be a whole generational trauma that happened because whatever happened was unspoken. It went on to their children, to our children. Like we don't really deal with each other, we don't really talk and communicate with each other, so their family secrets lived on, but you can tell something traumatic happened based on the way they react to each other and the way they treat us.
Okay.
So
So how did all of that for you transfer into writing books about your
trauma,
experience?
because
Yes.
my mom wound up, I think sometimes patterns repeat themselves without
Yes.
knowing. So
Yes.
then my mom went into a domestic violence relationship where she was constantly beat by a man, and eventually she had a nervous breakdown,
Okay.
which they considered a nervous breakdown back then. Now today we call it like a mental breakdown,
Sure.
Right.
and she was admitted in a hospital. So my sister, I don't know if you guys then know, like in New Jersey, it was called Woodbridge Diagnostic Center, where my
Yes.
older sister went to. It's like a mental hospital for teenagers.
Right.
So my
Okay.
my older my older sister went there because she was suffering mental disturbance
Trauma.
and
Trauma. Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
And my brother went to a boys' home, and my younger sister and nephew went away to a foster home where the system came to get me. I ran away. So I
Oh.
was considered a runaway teenager at the age 13 and a half, 14 years old. I went to the number one high school in Newark, which was Science High. So I never had an opportunity to even finish what I thought my life would be. Like I was this smart girl who had the opportunity to be much more, but life traumas came in the way, and I had to drop out because if I didn't drop out, I thought the diaper center was going to come and get me.
Yeah. And can
So
you tell people about the diaper center? Because I know here in New York City it's called ACS. So
it's,
is that the same thing?
no, it's the same. Um, 1 second. It's the same, but they just called the diapers. So back then we had our own theory on what diapers was. So diapers to me back then was never anything good. They come
Okay.
in, they separate families, they don't ask questions, they don't know what's going on, and then when you go to these separations, they mistreat you.
Right. Right.
So those were the things that I was expecting that I saw on TV. Those were the things that I heard, and I was like, I'm not going through that. And
Okay.
honestly, when diapers came to take, it was my mom and my youngest sister. I was like 13, 14 years old. I don't know how I was going to take care of them, but I'm like, Mom, don't let them take
Take
them.
us.
I'm
Yeah.
going to take them.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm 14, not even whole. I'm going to take these kids, and I don't even know how to take care of myself. But I knew I wanted them not to go. But they was taking my mom away. My mother was actually going to an institution as well, and she went to Trenton State Institution, I believe, Trenton State Mental Hospital, and then they took her, and then I was just like, that's it. She let them take her. I guess she wasn't strong at that time. She wasn't strong enough or mental enough to say, I'm gonna get that. And I'm kind of glad she didn't, because at 14 years old, what was I gonna do taking care of two kids?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And another passage that I want to quote is you said here, I definitely want to help my family heal by building the bridges that were never there and repair the bridge that were broken.
That was deep. When I wrote that, I felt that. I felt it emotionally, and I kind of do that by the family that took care of my aunt and uncle that took care of my mother, their last name was Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying it loud openly because this is like it's a plea, it's a call that whatever generational trauma that they went through, we did not go through it. So we should not bear that burden to continue this trauma that they experienced to go on. I want to repair those bridges. I want to heal that whatever's going on, because actually we're losing that whole generation. So out of my mother's 7 of them, there's only 3 of them left right now.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay.
what happened with them, they're gonna die with it. It's gonna just die, and that generational trauma, what is still going on with us without us even understanding what happened. I want to build that bridge or repair that bridge and become a family. I
Okay.
do accessories. I'm the one that goes and do all the family history, digging it up, finding cousins. I call them. I'm like trying to do family reunions. We have conversations, and I'm connecting dots because my mother and them don't know. They don't know their family.
Right.
What they know
Right.
is just one, because their mother died when they was 3, 5, and they were young kids. They
Yeah.
don't even know anything about their mom.
Yeah.
My aunt right now, which is the oldest, we just did group therapy with her right now. And we were doing it for her grandson, my nephew, my mom, and out of that, she's grieving her mother. She said 59 years she's still grieving her mother. No one talked to her about the death of her mother. No one. It was just back then. You don't talk about it. They just kept on living. They didn't
Yes.
talk to the kids about losing their mother. How did they not do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Now, moving on, your first book. When tell me about it.
Let me actually get it. I just had it sitting right here. And my first book, which is called Define Your Path, which is this book.
Right.
So both of my books are self-help books. I wrote self-help book because I love self-help books. When
Okay.
I read books, those are the books that I go to.
And can you
Because
tell the audience a little bit about what is a self-help book?
a self-help book is a book you read to help yourself. Sometimes it just tell you guides and different ideas or suggestions that you should do. And sometimes there are journals and different things like that. So mine is a journal, and it just explains my story in the process.
Okay.
So the Find Your Path came after I got divorced. I was married for almost 9 years. I got divorced, and I felt like I lost myself. And sometimes mental illness can be something that's in your family. It can be passed down through genes.
Right.
And what happened was I when I had a trauma, it triggered.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I experienced a mental breakdown.
Okay.
And so in going back there, so one of my fears as a young girl was I never wanted to become my mom.
Right, right,
And that's
right.
important. So again, and I'm gonna tell y'all why that's important, because I later was becoming my mom and I was scared.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
one of the things about trauma, you're absolutely right. One of the things that I've learned about trauma recently, because I didn't know much about trauma until maybe about a year and a half ago, when one of the groups talked about the trauma that's experienced with fatherhood and being separated from the children and the intensity that trauma causes, and like you said, sometimes when it's not defined, it repeats itself, and you don't know why you're doing that thing that you're doing that's destructive to you, but it's because what you've seen and what you know,
yes,
and you
yes,
don't know any better, so that track keeps getting played out.
True.
So define your path is a way of saying, okay, let's define where we want to get to and where we want to go to. Uh,
and in a way, yes, it is that. So I actually take you through this journey because, like I said, when I was broken, so I consider myself I was broken. I was
yeah.
broken in every way possible. I go into divorce, all these trigger points happening. I'm remembering my lifestyle. Society said I would not have all the things that I'm having.
Hmm.
So I'm just like I gained so much. I got married. I had three beautiful children. I'm driving a car. I have a better job. I'm not on welfare anymore. So I'm thinking, I'm doing great. But then I had, just marriage, and then it breaks down, and then I think that I failed myself.
Yeah.
I consider it's like every something's going wrong, and so I started losing who I was as an individual because I just felt like I felt myself. I'm a big disappointment. I'm becoming exactly what society said when I always wanted to be better and different. So now I'm reaching for God. So now
Yes.
I need God. So that's the first thing we do. Whenever we are broken, sick, and we're going through whatever, we say, "Oh my God," we call out for God. And I'm calling out for God, and I'm praying to God, and then God is not there. So then
Right.
I become angry with God. And I'm like, God, you don't hear me. You don't hear me. So later on during my journey, I found out that God did hear me. And what he was telling me was that what I was asking for wasn't for me.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, we want to take a commercial break, and we're going to come back with the cover of this book because I love it.
Thank you.
Make sure to download the WGJS radio app from the Apple Store or from the Google Play Store.
Great having you.
Incredible women. I wish they had those kind of cool careers for women when we were growing up.
So in this flashback, we're all the same age?
Yeah.
What does everyone want to be when they grow up?
If I say 2 jobs, do I get extra credit?
No.
I want to make immersive video games. I want to revolutionize 3D printing. I want to analyze data from the cloud.
I want to be a meteor.
You mean meteorologist?
No.
That's great, Al. Follow your dreams.
For the record, I was a baby in the 70s.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug. You know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
It's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe, it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
We're back here with Our World, Our World Power Show, and our guest today, author
Latrice Smith.
Latrice.
Latrice. Okay, that's good. Well, we all have to go back to school with A, apple, B, and Liz.
I know, right?
But I love the cover of your book. Please show the audience again.
Define your path.
When I saw it, it had such meaning. And I just wanted to talk about, in this book, your path. Do you think most people ever find their path in life?
I think they do, but I also think that it changes.
Okay. Can you explain that?
What I mean by that, so I can do this book 1,000 times, and each time that I do it, I'm going to take a different path. Because life changes as you changes.
Okay.
So
I like
you never
that.
take the same path to get to the same place.
Because you're at a different place every time you take it.
Every time, yes. Your growth. As you grow, things change. Your process of thinking change. So you learn from your mistakes, and you just find a shorter way. You find a longer way. And you also learn that it's not necessarily the destiny you're going, it's the journey.
Okay. A lot of people miss that. They're so focused on the results and the manifestation, they forget the journey. And the journey is where the experience, benefits you.
And when they learn who they are. So like my journey has changed so many times. So I have done my book. Although I'm the author of the book, I love it, and I have often take my time to do the book because I see me growing in different ways, and sometimes I need to be reminded of where I came from to where I'm going and how much I grew.
Excellent.
Okay, I want to ask you another thing about the path. Do you feel that everybody's path is already planned for them, or do we have control over our path as to what's going to happen?
I feel both ways. So I do feel like, because I have a higher faith, I believe in God. I think that our path is definitely planned out, but I think that God gave us the choice to allow us to take whatever path we want to get to Him or to get to where we're going. He doesn't just say, you're going to go here and move us from A to B. He allows us to move ourselves from where we're going to do the journey.
Okay. And is that journey always a good journey?
No, it's not a good journey. I mean, where I'm at now, I'm really, really happy with myself. Although I think I could be in a better place, and I'm not complaining, but I'm happy to where I am. But my journey got me here, and along my journey, I wasn't always happy. Like if you read this book, I fought mental illness. I had a mental breakdown, which is in this book. Is an outline in here about mental health. It gives you an outline and asks you questions. If you read the book and you read my story and you read the symptoms or the way that I described what I was experiencing, and ask you these questions. Have you felt like this? And if you felt like this, you need to go seek help. You need to call someone. And I gave you a list of hotline numbers that you could call in case you need some assistance. I suggest that you speak to a therapist, that you have a friend or someone you can talk to, because to go through something by yourself, you need somebody there with you. You need somebody to understand and to listen to you.
I like your book. I love your book, as a matter of fact, and I wish you the best of luck with it. Let's talk about some of your other books. You have a book called "The Colorless Rainbows and Ugly Butterflies."
Now,
Yeah.
how did you come up with that
That
title?
title.
So, I believe in unicorns. I am a
Okay.
big unicorn person,
Okay.
and I have a real big imagination.
Okay.
And during my grieving time when my mom just passed of colon cancer in January, I can't get to my happy place. So I have a happy place that I mentally go to, and my happy place is full with rainbows, sunshine, unicorns, butterflies, garden. It's like this beautiful, mystical place.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was grieving, when I went to my happy place, it wasn't happy. It was colorless. Like I couldn't see anything. And
Okay.
so that's what I decided to call the book, because I want people to know at the grief, although you're grieving, it's still a happy place after all. Like, so my happy place is not there now,
Mm-hmm.
but my happy place comes back after a while. I start getting back to normal. You start getting back to living life, although you're grieving, although you lost someone important to you. There's still life at the end.
Okay, I agree with that. Recently, somebody has passed away close to me, and I was noticing there a lack of grievancy, and I just found it a little bit, strange. But then I remember there's different stages of grievancy, and I know we was talking on the phone a few days
Yeah.
ago, and we was talking about the different stages of grief. And I said that there was five, and you said there was seven. Can you go over what the
The
quote
seven
is?
steps. Okay, let me find the page. I believe it was 14.
Uh huh.
It's the 7 steps of grief is page 19. So I believe there's 7 steps, according to Elizabeth. I cannot pronounce her name. She's the pioneer of writing the 7 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can say, what's her last name? I'm gonna say Elizabeth Ross. I can't pronounce her the last name, but her name is
Okay.
Elizabeth Ross. She is the pioneer. She's the one who created the 7 steps. She actually created the 5 steps. She went back later to apologize and added the 2 steps.
Okay.
And
So where I was, I probably just read the five.
it's called goodwill or good point or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the 7 steps are shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, testing, and acceptance.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And you may not experience all 7 steps in that order,
Mm-hmm.
or you may not experience all 7 steps, but you do experience some of the steps of grief.
Okay.
So this book really is to support you in the grieving process, and or to be a support of other people who may be going through the grieving process as well.
Yes. So in this book, I also have testimonies from other people about what grief is,
Okay.
of their grieving experience. Because it wasn't just about me writing about my grief. It was to show that other people grieve, and we grieve different things, and we grieve differently. Because everyone look, oh, I got to grieve the same way. I'm grieving shorter. I'm grieving longer. No, we all grieve differently. Like
Okay.
when my mom first died, I wanted to grow my hair. So I was growing my hair, and then I got a haircut. So
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, to me, grief was a haircut.
Okay.
Grief was me starting over. I did not want to have hair. I did not want to grow hair. I wanted to be a new person. I wanted this to start fresh. And starting fresh for me was a new haircut, because it changed who I was at that moment. I was
Right.
no longer that Latrice with her hair trying to grow, and I was now Latrice with a haircut. That
Right.
I
Right.
feel like, a woman, most likely, when we feel like we go through things, the first thing we do is change our hair.
True. Right. We do. We do.
I cut mines off because I needed new beginnings. I needed to start growing better and stronger. So that was the first thing I did. And I wrote that in the book, that to me, grief was a haircut. Because
Okay.
grief is different things to us, and we don't realize that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember years ago. You hardly ever see it. Women used to grieve, or I would say the grieving period was 7 days, and we wore black and black stockings. Everything was black, And when you saw people in the street, with a black dress, black stockings, black shoes, you knew they were mourning. And that's
Yes.
something that we don't see anymore. And I'm just was wondering, have people forgotten about grieving? You
I don't
know.
think people forgot about grieving. I think people look at grieving as a weakness.
Hmm.
They kind of change grieving. So now we don't grieve when we wearing all black. We grieve by wearing a t-shirt. We grieve by wearing a headband that say rest in peace or with the face of the person on us. Things just change later with society.
Okay.
But I
Gotcha.
think that we definitely grieve, and people just don't, and they grieve in silence, where we no longer need to continue to grieve in silence because that leads to depression, that isolate people, and people don't need to feel isolated or depressed when they're grieving. So for me, for instance, I grieve out loud. I grieve out loud like I do everything else. So I'm on social media. I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it like it's an everyday thing. I have had people tell me, "Oh, you need to stop grieving. Oh, you need to stop talking about it. Oh, you need to get over it." My mom just died barely 6 months ago. You telling me I need to stop talking about my mom? You telling me I need to get over it? Why?
Yeah.
I don't get over talking about when I'm partying. It's okay for me to post and laugh and do all those things. Why can't I talk that I'm sad and I'm grieving my mother? It's no difference than anything else. So
That's true.
I live everything I do out loud as I do anything.
I got you. And then, what was your third book?
I didn't write it. I have it, but I did not publish it. I didn't finish writing it. It's going to be my poetry book. It's my poetry book and letters. So I used to write letters to my mom. My mom
Okay.
is a writer. So
Okay.
off and on, when she gets upset, she'll mail me a letter or I'll mail her a letter back and like, Ma, I don't like this or whatever, whatever. So is this the book of poetry for me growing up as a kid? No matter, although I was emancipated and I ran away, I kept all my writings. So I'm writing my life story through poetry.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Oh,
That's
wow.
exciting.
So, what advice would you give to anybody that's interested in writing? Because there's a lot of people that have thoughts. How would you begin the
I tell them this.
process?
I tell them to take their time, just to continue writing, this free flow. Don't think too hard about it. Because I thought really, really hard about it. It took me years to first write. But the first book I wrote was my poetry book, and that wasn't even the first book I published. But I would tell them to just the free write, just to write all their thoughts, and just later on just put it together. Don't think about it.
Okay.
And I know that you're working in Newark, but where do you see yourself going? Writing more books, maybe lecturing,
I consider
counseling.
I went into counseling. I actually went to Pillow to become a psychiatrist. I'm one semester left from having my bachelor in psychology.
Ah,
But
wonderful.
thank you, but I haven't been back yet. I'm speaking into existence. I will go back and finish. But I consider myself a psychoeducator. I have my own program that I do. It's called Embracing Orange. But I go out in the community and I teach grieving and coping skills. I teach children how to recognize their feelings because I think that things that need to be taught early. Our children act out because they don't know how to express their emotion. They don't know how
Yes.
to put words to it. So I try to early on teach them how to put words to their emotions.
Are you thinking about any children's books?
No, but someone else asked me that. So I was like, oh, that's something I need to consider.
That's wonderful.
Interesting. Interesting.
Now, can you tell the audience where your books can be bought?
My books can be caught on Amazon. It's called Define Your Path, the first book. The second book is Colorless Rainbows and Ugly Butterflies. It's a grief workbook.
Oh,
Okay.
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 All right. It has been a pleasure having you on our show, and I wish you the best of luck with your books. And
Thank you.
I love some of the paths that you wrote. I'm gonna remember them, throughout the day and so forth. It's very deep. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I want to thank you for having the courage to write these books, given what you've gone through. Sometimes people use it. It stays in them, so it never comes out. And so you're able to bounce back. You're able to now do some positive things, write books to support other people in going through their process and their path. And so I just want to thank you for having the courage to do that and the wherewithal.
And one thing I forgot to ask you,
Yeah.
is there any way possible if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
So I don't know. They can email me or they can
Okay.
go on my social media page. I'm open. I'm really open. I am Latrice Black Queen on Facebook. So I don't use Instagram, but you can definitely find me on Facebook at Latrice Black Queen.
Oh, okay.
Latrice Black Queen.
Queen.
Okay, I
I
like that.
like that. I like that.
Thank
All
you.
right. It's been a pleasure having you on Our World, Our World Power. Again, I wish you the best of luck with your books.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. So
I told you. I
See?
told
really
you.
excited. So thank you.
Before we finish the show, Glenn, I wanted to ask you what's going on in the community.
Well, we've got Jay Cal is having the jazz on Sundays, Sunday afternoons 4 to 6. And don't forget, we've got the Sutphen Boulevard Harvest Festival coming up September 17th. So if you are a vendor or you are exhibitor, give us a call at 718-291-2110, and we can get you the information. We're going to have a fantastic time. We're looking to get some circus acts, so we're going to have some circusy things happening, and we're looking at having a petting zoo as well. So for the kids, so we're going to have bouncy houses, and it's going to be a real family day, and we're lining up some talent that for the adults, some real musical groups that are going to knock your socks off. So you definitely want to save that date, Saturday, September 17th. We're going to be here from 10 o'clock in the morning until 7 p.m., shutting down Southern Boulevard from Jamaica Avenue to Hillside. So come one, come all.
That's good. And I will be there. Lady Pauline will have our table, and Our World, Our World Power Show will be there. So anybody wants to stop by and get an interview, you're more than welcome to stop by the table, and I will talk to you. Well, Glenn, it has been a wonderful weekend spending it with you again.
That's right. Yeah. And don't forget, our Instagram handle is at Our World Media, and certainly subscribe to our World Media One channel. And if you think about it, you can call in from time to time, 347-410-8077.
Okay, guys. Catch you all next week and have a blessed week.
Take care.